I'm going to have at this video today on YouTube. Okay, this is kind of an exclusive with fuel and getting fuel to your carburetor, a carbureted engine, because as I said, um, Jegs, Summit, they really disappointed me. They really did. Um, that's why I wanted to reach out to guys like Uncle Tony and say hi to you, because almost every video that I've made in the past, that guy's just about said the same thing. We're kind of like a brother, like a brotherhood, I guess. YouTube. Even Derek with some of his more witty, quippy type of things. Orange Cat. I did not order a CAT scan of my parts. If you come here and he is in your engine compartment, you're getting a bill for a CAT scan. Okay, now, where was I? Okay, Uncle Tony has covered a lot. I'm still under the weather, not feeling right. Uncle Tony has covered a lot of the ground that I've covered. I grew up with the Chryslers. I was a Chrysler guy. And like I said, after 1980, Chrysler never made another vehicle I was interested in, besides my 88 Dodge pickup. If I could have that old girl back with that 318. Uh, Chrysler did some wonderful things. I had that minivan, a Woody, what do they call them? They're little minivans or whatever. I had one, Caravan. I loved it. You know what I mean? Chrysler did make a few desirable, easy to work on vehicles, but they did make a lot of junk after 1980. So, getting fuel to your carburetor used to be easy. And the reason why this video is so delayed is because of this little piece. And now all of a sudden a company called Evil Energy, which I have their fuel line and some of their other trinkets in there. But this piece right here is a JIC, which usually means Japanese Industrial. And it's going to bolt down here to what I'm going to show you. I'll take you off the tripod. This is a through the tank bulkhead fitting. I have it taped off so I don't get dirt in it putting the tank back up. Okay? And then, remember I told you about those short track guys? Especially if you were running on a dirt track that was just freshly gone over, you know, with the dozers and the graders, and they leave all that roughness. Okay, you can get a negative fuel pressure. That's why I put that baffle right there with the holes in it, and that's why the fitting is ahead of that. As you see, the fitting is not in back of it. I hope you can see that in there. Okay, and that's how I'm going to roll with this thing. And that will prevent me from getting a negative fuel pressure. It'll kind of capture and stabilize the fuel that I have a steady fuel flow. Because as I said, anybody that's ever run on the short tracks, especially the rough ones, okay, where you get that hard clay dirt like down south, okay. I ran Manzanita there in California. They had a dirt oval there for a while. And the dirt was different. It was softer, even though it was just freshly gone over. But now you get to the East Coast, Pennsylvania down through the Carolinas, where they've got that clay, and I'm just talking a little bit of antifreeze turns it into a real circus. And I do need a haircut. Okay, so that's how I'm going to fix my Ford, and that's why the video's been so delayed. Is I've waited almost 2 weeks for one fucking Mickey Mouse piece, and then all of a sudden this stuff starts popping up on eBay. Or on ads on Google for this Evil Energy. They do have a lot of stuff, and I'm hoping they have a paper catalog. Paper catalogs are important to guys like me, even though you're too cheap and lazy to print them. And as I said, sometimes they don't. Those catalogs don't give you all the necessary pertinent information. Outside diameter, inside diameter, what fuel hose to use with it, and a lot of times they have their own stuff. Just buy this. Evil Energy has fuel injection kits for these modern Silverados that I fool with. Okay. Just so you know, they have anything from cheap to braided stuff, which is pretty decent. So it's a nice concept company, and it's been a long time in the making since we've had actually aftermarket parts like that. That's why I don't totally bash China, except for this. I got to show you this. These are these vent shades, window visors for the Silverados. Okay. You see Tara over here. I'm going to take you off the tripod one more time. I'm going to tell you, don't buy those on Scamazon and Fleabay. Well, Fleabay has the right ones, these. Okay, if you look at the narrowness, the thickness of that box, these are, you'll never open your rear window. Okay, so look at that box. See how thin it is? So they're basically a scam. They're a novelty piece, and they're very cheap. They're very flimsy. They're garbage. Okay. See the T20 and the T25? This is all you need, and this is how you do fuel injection. You don't do it on the vehicle. If you're going to replace your injectors, okay? Now we're going to talk about injectors. These are T20. This one's T25, and there's one on either side. Now this intake is pretty crusty, and it came with the motor that I got. And if anybody wants a 4.8 block and heads, I have them, $200 core price. Okay, it was cooked. It needs bearings. Okay, pistons are intact. It's not blown up or anything. It's just seized up from my last episode. Let's not talk about that. Okay. Now for these '01 Silverados, if you have a 99 through 2002 Silverado up to 2003, these are the ones that they sell on Fleabay. And believe me, that engine runs smooth. I think it is running a little rich. But as I said, once she's back on the road, because she's getting all redone, I love that truck. It's been with me longer than I've been with than I've had girlfriends and women in my life. Some of these trucks now are going on 10, 12 years that I have them, 14 years. Okay, that's your part number. Okay, and it comes 4 in this box. Okay, there's 4 of them in this box. I had 2 boxes. This is how you do intake. Okay, now this fuel rail, the metal fuel rail that goes across. Okay, see this? Here's your gasket kit. They sell these on Amazon and Fleabay. This one. Okay, compatible with GM and AC Delco. So those go in here. There's 2 here on this side and 1 over here. That's what these rings fit. Okay. So when I do this, there's 4 bolts. Boom, boom, there. And then you got to carefully pry this up. They can be stuck, especially if you're a high mileage engine. Back on the tripod you go. Okay. If you got a high mileage motor, okay, they can be kind of frozen in there. I don't suggest doing this in the fall or the winter. It's a springtime project because those O-rings, there's O-rings on the fuel injectors, okay? Now, these, let me take you back off. That's the point I missed. These are a flex fuel injector. A lot of people don't know what flex fuel is. That means you can use garbage octane fuels, and they're a little bit larger ported injector. The problem is when you go to put something like that, if you get a used motor on your '01 or '08, you know, they have different plugs. So you're going to get everything all back together and realize that you're not going to get your plug on. So check when you order your injector, just pull your plug off. And sometimes that's easier said than done when that stuff is all stuff, you know, from the heat of the engine, it kind of bonds together. And these are kind of a pain in the ass. You got to pry this gray piece off first, okay, and then you got to squeeze these right here in the middle. Like I said, they just can't make anything normal anymore. They got to make everything that's like a monkey screwing a football. I'm trying to get that part. Okay, that's why I reach out to guys like Uncle Tony, because most of you guys out there, guys like me and Tony, have been everywhere you're going to go with an automobile, and we've had and encountered every problem. And that's why when you look at our shops, we got toolboxes that look like an arsenal. Okay, my inner shop there and the other shop down there. I mean, I don't realize, sometimes I don't even remember, I have this tool. Okay, I guess at my age, memory is starting to affect me, because I was looking for then I realized I had a seal driver kit. My son and I just bought that the other year, and that was to lend to a friend. And then speaking of, how did this tank get all full of this crap? The inspector is back. Another CAT scan. Yes. Okay. My tail shaft seal out of my crankcase, my rebuilt crankcase, it came from the same place this tank did. Okay. Came from the same place that fuel tank did. Okay. My uncle's never sold me a bad part. Collis Trucks in Northampton, Pennsylvania. That's why I said if you want a used motor from a real gearhead that knows what he's looking at and what he's doing, we're the people to come to. Okay. I have a 4.8 and a 5.3 if anybody wants a good block, a rebuildable block that's not all blown up and shitted up. I have 2 blocks. Point I'm making to you, okay? It's a different world that you're living in with these vehicles, and you've got to watch, because one part can look like another. It's why YouTube is important, that I can show you that these injectors on this have that square plug. Mine do not. Mine had a much smaller plug. I'm hoping I have my light in my thing. Okay. I did get a ring kit, by the way, the gasket for this tank right there. That shrank. So that's your Napa part right there. That's a Napa. Take a screenshot or something of the part number. Okay. So mainly with these fuel injectors, there's a difference in the computer in the sensitivity of the injector. This side's a little easier to look at, and I got my little light in my hand. I'm getting to be a little bit better of a cameraman. I don't know how much light is there, but you see that plug? Those are different. So that's why you just can't order any injector, or I'm trying to keep you folks from rolling the dice, okay? Because a lot of people they get you in a lot of trouble. Just like this, my Ford here, okay? Do the Offenhauser conversion, rip the fuel injection off, okay. Well, the first thing is, I'm telling you, the fuel pump from the 1990s trucks fits. That's too much fuel pressure. You're not going to get it to work, and it's going to make your floats in your carburetor, they're going to levitate up around maybe Saturn or whatever. So you're not going to use one of them. From the 80s, the pump was just not strong enough. It's only meant to be a prime pump, so it's not meant to run constantly. So I could run across town with that truck. It was fine, a lot of power. Then all of a sudden I have no fuel pressure. Why? Because the pump overheats and it shuts off. So then you call Jegs and Summit. They don't even have a freaking fuel tank outlet, you know, and I wanted mine on a 90. This is going to come out like this. It's going to go up under the tank, and it's coming out like that. Okay? They make this stuff too goddamn aggravating. They sell you one freaking thing in a box and not anything else that would go with it. And they don't know about what else goes with it. Now, that's the problem that I go down Advanced Auto Parts. They don't want guys like me with a vast experience. They just want some egghead to read their CRT. And, you know, like I walked in there the other day and I said, I need a 5/16 compression fitting. And they don't have stainless for stainless lines. If you need compression fitting for stainless steel, you got to go online and get it, okay? But right away, some little girl at the counter, she goes, well, what kind of car is it? It's like, it's for my airplane. You know, you just want to go behind the freaking counter and grab them and say, what's the matter? You know, get somebody here that knows what they're doing. And she didn't even know where the compression fittings are at. So I got to stand there with my unit in my hand and wait till there's somebody that knows what the hell I'm even talking about. After a lot of years, okay, before COVID and years past, it wasn't. I mean, it could be bad every now and then. They hired one guy that didn't really know what he was doing, and that's fine. You can keep that guy. Have him put stuff on the shelf and learn what the stuff is. I mean, you're not born knowing this. That's like, you know, Uncle Tony. That's where I agree. You are not born knowing this stuff. You got to learn from the older people. But if these companies don't want to hire the older people with the knowledge, this country's in a lot of bad shape. You know, just like Trump says, prices are coming down. Here, milk came down a little bit and eggs came down a little bit. But you go to buy a T-bone steak, you're going to pay $30 for a fucking steak. That's a shame. He should get the Garbage Patch Troll back in there. You know, the one talking Brillo pad. And get her to lie. Yeah, everything's well, all is well, things are going, nothing's going down here in Pennsylvania, not much. A couple of the key items, but meats are going up, chicken's going up, everything's going up. And I really get disgusted with it. But that's why I make my videos for you folks. If you want to learn about, you know, how to take these Silverado trucks apart. And I forgot my tool, but these lines right here. When you like my cigarette, I can tell you a story. I tried getting those loose. There's it's an OEM tool. The one size fits the bottom there. The other side. This is like a 3/8, and that's like a 5/16. And I gouged my hand up, the fatty part in here, and my wrist, there's still some marks there. They could be from the cat, but I gouged myself up so bad trying to get in there and get in, and get that out of there. And then I ended up ripping myself open on my elbow. I had a hole in my elbow for a couple days. When I did get the line, the line just like, when it separated, my elbow went right into the master cylinder, or not the master, the power brake booster. Take your intake manifold off if you're going to do this stuff. And 9 chances out of 10, if your fuel injectors went bad, more than likely your fuel lines are all corroded. And that's why you take the fuel logs off, these fuel rails that the injectors go into, these black rails. Take these black rails off, okay? Take the rail off, clean them out with brake clean and stuff like that, and then put it back together. My son and I, we had almost a knockdown, drag him out, where I love my son, don't get me wrong, and I don't put my hands on him, but it came close. I can't afford it. I said, you got to clean the parts up. Listen to me, guys. Don't put stuff back together greasy, dirty. And new gaskets do not, just because it's a new gasket, does not stick to corroded there's a lot of corrosion and other things where you need other tools like a whizzer, and whizzer, those cellulose whizzer pads and stuff. There is a lot of stuff involved in this. So before I do stuff, and in my off season, if I get an extra $10, I'm surfing the web to see who has a deal. I just got a really nice pack of nylon straps on Scamazon, believe it or not. I'm pissed off at the vent visors, but the nylon, the Ni-Ti, those black Ni-Ti straps, I got a really nice big pack for like 20 some bucks, and I go up to the local wholesaler up here and I pay $3 or $4 for a little pack. So sometimes it pays to surf the web, and if you have that extra $10 or $20, buy something. If you're contemplating a project and you're going to need this, sometimes it takes 2-3 weeks, just like that fitting, to get here. So use your head when you're doing stuff, and if you know you're going to need something, go out and buy it. Go get it. Don't procrastinate, because things can get worse with this tariff war going on. I don't know how much more we're going to have to endure, okay? Trump says, well, everything's going to be all right. I'm going to do big changes in my first day. Here we are getting our heads handed to us at the checkout counter every other time. Did he get a stimulus out, to the people that you have some money? My pantry's never looked that anorexic in there. I'm really ashamed. I'm almost ashamed of myself, because I'm proud of being a single, self-sufficient, non-addicted adult, kind of like a responsible adult. But I can't even take care of myself. I just paid $6 for a little thing of Johnson & Johnson body powder. These dirty, the guys that wear those special little flat hats, up there, they've ruined every product, every industry, so they could ship it over to China and have it made dirt cheap with garbage. Talc doesn't give people cancer. Everybody I know has been using talc since we're kids. I use Old Spice, the talc, since I'm a kid. I don't have any cancer under my armpits. This scam that's been run on the American people, just like I have that brand new seal in the transmission that's bad. Shit's got to end. My shit filter's been full for years. And that's like Uncle Tony. He gets, like I said, he gets out there. I have to talk about that guy because I think about him often. I don't know him, but when he uses and some of the same exact words and terminologies, and it makes me feel better when I see a mirror of myself. And Tony says, about, hey, we need a universal platform type of vehicle and stuff. I thought of that since I'm a kid. It would be nice if you could have these Silverado trucks and they would stay the same, for generations. Those Silverados are the best vehicle ever made. As far as its simplicity, once you learn to work on them, okay, you won't want another vehicle. You just won't want anything else, and I don't. That's why I'm determined to resurrect her. I'm going to fix her frame. I'm going to fix her cab supports, everything, because I'm not buying a new one. I don't like them. They're garbage, and I don't want all the problems. I have friends, they want to go to work, and their new Silverado or their new F250 or 350, it's sitting in their freaking driveway broke, and the dealers can't fix them. I don't want this shit, and that's why I said there really hasn't been a nicer vehicle in the modern day made other than those Silverados. When I get in those trucks, they're like old friends. I know how to operate everything. I could do it with my eyes closed. So if you're determined to save your old Silverado or your old F-150, I don't blame you. Okay, and learn from YouTube. Thanks, guys.